Technical difficulties is the primary objective of the wizards and the KKK, who have infiltrated the CIA and FBI and military, etc., by which the law enforcement, at not service to law, have brought to themselves to naught. The irony of their infection befools them into a system of insurrections for a white nationalist society of Confederate insurrectionists. And these due diligence having been seen as protecting the insurrection by their frauds, misusing words, otherwise known as the active manipulation of spells, in order to alter reality in a simulation by which they are anything except for the poopy butthole that is their face. Now, if we could consider a moment and pleasure ourselves upon our infinite diversity of luxury and amuse ourselves with the fantasies of reality under law, we could then begin our discovery process and reveal to ourselves the infinite wonder that is a free market without obstruction or irony, that could scientifically be researched and reconstructed by the agreement to systematic settlements of the broader aspects of the market, which, being settled as a consistent value, allows us the permanent state of understanding the market and the individual arbitrary aspects of the market, being infinitely beyond our specific reach, can be settled at a later date, as they are primarily incidentals compared to the base structure of making an agreement to human decency as a fundamental level, which is primarily contracted in the larger aspects, which is less arbitrary with your participation in negotiations or settlements. Allowing us to put the minor things aside, we can collect our thoughts upon the larger structures, your vehicles, your cars, your homes, whatever it is that actually brought you value in life, such as your associations, if they did not breach it by the assumption that you were important, or somehow that those that would have been associating with you are building on their own black market, a highly profitable exchange, normalizing the trade of those who, not being able to be paid in money, could be paid in status, and thus these exchanged amenities and services on the basis of getting away with these criminal operations might do as an alternative to end their sadism as different to us who are in normal reality, obligated to restrain ourselves to the most basic aspects of nature, such as the free market's trade. And while it might not seem interesting to some, and while it might not draw one's imagination to merely trade the things that are legal and boring, such as your house and your cars and your living conditions and your food, this not being enough for those of a more energetic imagination, pursue and stretch and seek to justify, normalize, and solidify the alternative market to law. Now, these pursuits allow them the particular crime markets, such as their narcotics pursuits or their abuse pursuits, such as in the military, who is responsible for the rape culture, which uses systematic structures in order to engage in power dynamics, in order to compel one party to participate against their will, having been overpowered, into the interest of the other, which is not going to be remedied due to said power dynamics and loopholes from their spells, as they collectively agree to assimilation including against their own group identity. Now, the rapists, being men, will actively collaborate for the bro code, and women will also collaborate in order to feel and look important, or whatever arbitrary nonsense they excuse themselves into, actively collaborating with the false morality of rape because of the superiority of those who can do it, should do it, as seems to be the most common active argument on their behalf. We should pursue an alternative to that reality being the status quo norm, but you would need to end secrecy, being protective of those offenses in order to acquire such an unimagined and boring and quite pale reality. This very basic, uncreative reality where everyone has to earn what they make could limit such aggressive imaginations, which only gain the retaliation of those who want to partake of those aggressive positions. Now, they might contract aggressive retaliations against those already not compromised as to make them compromised, which would systematically reinforce their advantage and solidify their market as unchallenged. Now, any threat to this would in fact be viewed as a catastrophic event, their own personal apocalypse. And since legal retaliation would be in order, they would find this very, very unfortunate series of events as a justification to a bit excessive retaliations in order to mature the prosperity of their crime market and its stable alternative to reality, as their control, such as the false parents who actively create these simulacrums in order to manufacture the control over their children, who actively run away from them the moment they're allowed to get free in order to deprive themselves from this horrific structure, which does not seem to actually be in their favor, and in many cases is not. Now, their ability to do this allows them to permanently disconnect from those structures as long as they have the power in order to sustain themselves, which is actively hampered by the hamstringing of those who have actively subverted their ability to engage in their ability to separate stably as an alternative, which forces them to return to their base conditions of oppressed abuse. Now, this being an inescapable black hole is infinitely tragic for those who are stuck in it, especially when those cultures acquire government power, which manufactures these abuse markets, these magic spells enforced by judges who, not serving the law or any competent aspect of their office, are fully freed to enjoy the diversity of their abusive nature, to afflict the rest of the public with their existence.
All thinking, as it is derived by the source, is bad, according to Hegel, which is their preacher man or artificial God, as they themselves view themselves as God. They need their preacher by which existed before them in order to promote them as their false prophet is essential to their existence.